What if loneliness had a voice, and love existed only in dreams? Hi, listeners. Welcome to Read Your Shelf, where timeless stories are not just read, but felt. We hope you're doing well in life, wherever you are, and whatever quiet thoughts may be keeping you company tonight. Today's story is White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky, a writer who understood the human soul better than most ever could. Dostoevsky wrote about dreamers, about hearts that love too deeply, and about people who feel everything in a world that often feels nothing. White Nights is a story of loneliness, hope, and a love that lasts for just a few nights, but echoes for a lifetime. So now, let us begin White Nights. White Nights, a sentimental novel, from a dreamer's reminiscences. First night. It was a beautiful night, a night that we may only know when we are very young, dear reader. The sky was so starry, so clear that, looking at it, you could not help asking yourself with a quiet wonder, how can all sorts of cross and crotchety people live beneath a sky like this? That's a very youthful question too, kind reader, very youthful indeed. But may it please the Lord to trouble your heart with such questions more often. Speaking of all sorts of cross and crotchety people, I cannot but recall with a faint smile my own exemplary behavior all that day. Ever since the morning, I was prey to a peculiar melancholy that hung heavy on my soul. I suddenly fancied, with a sharp pang, that everyone was forsaking me in my loneliness, that everyone was casting me off. It would only be fair to ask, of course, with a touch of irony, who was everyone? For I have been living in St. Petersburg for 8 years, and I have not managed to make any friends to speak of. But why should I make any friends? As it is, I am friends with the whole of St. Petersburg, and that was why, when all the town suddenly packed up and left for the country, I fancied, with growing dread, that everyone was forsaking me. It frightened me to be left alone, and for 3 whole days I wandered up and down the streets in deep dejection, quite unable to understand what was tearing at my heart. I'd go to Nevsky Avenue, or to the park, or I'd ramble along the embankment, and wherever I went I missed seeing the people I was used to meeting at the same place and at the same hour for a whole year now. Of course they don't know me, but I know them with tender familiarity. I know them well. I have made an almost perfect study of their faces. I delight in them when they are gay, and grow melancholy deep inside when they are clouded. I almost made friends with one old man I had been encountering on the Fontanka every single day at the same hour. He had such a grave and pensive face. He kept whispering to himself, gesticulating with his left hand, while in his right he carried a long knotty walking stick with a golden knob. He had noticed me too, and took a sincere interest in me that warmed my heart. I am sure he would have felt dispirited if he had failed to meet me at the same spot on the Fontanka at the same hour. This is why we practically greeted one another at times, especially when we were both in a happy frame of mind that made the world softer. The other day when we met after an interval of 2 whole days, we were actually on the point of raising our hats, but fortunately we pulled ourselves up in time, dropped our hands, and passed each other by with unspoken sympathy, glowing quietly in our hearts. I am friends with the houses too, in my solitary way. When I walk down the street, they all seem to rush towards me with childlike eagerness, and they almost speak, staring at me with all their windows. How are you? I am very well too. Another story will be added to me in May. Or, how are you? I'm to go into repair tomorrow. Or I almost caught fire, and I was so frightened, and so on. I have my favorites among them, and my intimate friends that feel almost alive. One of them intends to take a course of treatment at the architect's this summer. I shall make a point of coming here every day to see that it doesn't come to any harm, bless it with gentle affection. But I shall never forget with a quiet sorrow what happened to one very pretty, pale pink little house. It was such a sweet little stone house. It smiled to me in such a friendly way, and looked so haughtily at its clumsy neighbors that my heart rejoiced whenever I chanced to walk past it. All of a sudden, last week, as I was going down the street, I heard a piteous cry that pierced me. "They're painting me yellow." I glanced at my friend in horror. The brutes, the barbarians. They had spared nothing, neither the pillars nor the cornices, and my friend had turned yellow like a canary against its will. I almost had an attack of jaundice over it from pure grief, and to this day I cannot bring myself to go and see my poor disfigured friend, painted the color of the celestial empire. And so you see, dear reader, with a soft sadness, how I have become friends with the whole of St. Petersburg. I have already mentioned that I was feeling depressed, and the mood persisted for 3 full days before I understood the aching cause of it. I felt ill, at ease out of doors, with a hollow longing that one was not there, this one was not to be seen, and what could have happened to so-and-so? And at home I felt restless too, like a stranger. I cudgelled my brains for 2 nights in succession with growing despair. What was amiss in my bit of a flat? Why was I finding it so uninviting and cold? And I ran my puzzled eye over the green, grimy walls, the ceiling hung with cobwebs, which Matryona allowed to gather so redundantly. I scanned all the furniture I had, examining every chair with anxious suspicion, thinking that here lay the root of the trouble, perhaps. For if I see a single chair standing differently from where it had stood the day before, I grow restless. I gazed at the windows, but all to no avail. It didn't relieve my mind at all. It even occurred to me in mild irritation to summon Matryona and give her a fatherly scolding about the cobwebs and the untidiness generally. But she only looked at me in surprise and left the room without a word, and so the cobwebs remain undisturbed to this day. And finally, only this morning, I understood with sudden clarity what was the matter. Why? They were skipping from me into the country, leaving me behind. Forgive me this trite expression, but I was beyond the choice of lofty words. My sorrow, because everyone who had been in St. Petersburg was either going or had gone to the country. Because in every respectable-looking gentleman hiring a carriage, I instantly saw a sedate family man who, having finished with his daily work, was hurrying off to the country to join his family with quiet joy, because every man in the street had quite a peculiar look now, which all but said to every passer-by with careless lightness, "We are only here in passing, gentlemen, and in a couple of hours we shall be leaving town." If I saw a window pushed open, slim white fingers drumming on the pane first with delicate impatience, and then a pretty girl thrusting out her head and calling a vendor of potted flowers with bright excitement, I instantly, there and then, imagined that those flowers were being bought not at all because the people wanted to enjoy the spring and the flowers in a stuffy flat in town, but because very soon they would all be moving to the country and would be taking the flowers along into summer freedom. Moreover, I had already made such strides in my new and peculiar field of observation that I could tell unerringly by outward appearances alone, where each one had his summer residence waiting like a promise. Those who came from the Kameny and Aptekarsky Islands, or from down Peterhof Way, could be told apart by their studied gracefulness of manner, their fashionable summer clothes, and the splendid carriages which brought them to town with easy elegance. Those from Pogolovo and places further afield instantly impressed one with their prudence and their reliability. An unruffled and gay look stamped the visitor to Krestovsky Island with carefree summer spirit. Whether I happened to meet a long procession of coachmen walking lazily, reins in hand, beside their dray carts piled high with furniture of every description, tables, chairs, divans, Turkish and otherwise, and other household possessions, with a puny-faced cook perched on the very top of the load, presiding over all this and guarding her master's belongings for all she was worth with fierce pride, or whether I watched the boats, laden with furniture and utensils, gliding down the Neva or the Fontanka towards the Kornaya River or the islands. The carts and the boats increased tenfold, 100-fold in my eyes. It seemed to me that everything had started up and taken to the road. Everything was moving to the country in whole caravans. It seemed that St. Petersburg itself was threatened with becoming a desert. And then I felt ashamed, hurt, and sad with a deep ache. There was absolutely no reason, and no place for me to go to in the country. I was prepared to go with every cart, with every respectable-looking gentleman hiring a carriage, but no one at all invited me. It was as if I were forgotten, as if I were indeed a stranger to them. I walked so long and so far that I quite lost my bearings, which was usual with me, when suddenly I found myself at the town gate. All at once I felt gay with sudden lightness. I passed the barrier and walked through the ploughed fields, meadows insensitive to weariness and only aware, with the whole of my being, that a weight was lifting from my heart. All those who drove past me threw such friendly glances at me. They all but greeted me. They all seemed so glad of something, and every one of them was smoking a cigar. And I, too, felt glad as never before with pure joy. It was as though I had suddenly found myself in Italy, so strong was my impact with nature, half-sick townsman that I was, who had almost suffocated in the walled-in city. There is something inexplicably touching in the country around St. Petersburg when, with the coming of spring, nature suddenly displays all its might, all the strength which the heavens have endowed it with, when it dons its finery, decks itself out, with foliage and bright flowers, with tender glory. For some reason it reminds me of a sickly, consumptive young girl whom you regard with pity at times, with a compassionate sort of affection at others, and disregard altogether at others still, but who suddenly, for a single moment, assumes a wondrous beauty that is inexplicable and unexpected, and you, stunned and entranced, have to ask yourself what force has made those sad, pensive eyes flash with such fire. What brought the color to those pale, wan cheeks? What breathed passion into those delicate features? Why does her bosom heave so? What has so suddenly brought strength, life, and beauty into the face of this poor girl, making it glow with a smile so radiant and light up with laughter so sparkling? You look about you, you search for a reason, and then you begin to understand with quiet sorrow. But the moment is gone, and perhaps on the morrow you will again meet the same pensive and listless look, the same wan face, the same attitude of meekness and timidity, and even see repentance, or even traces of some moribund dejection and vexation for that one moment of inspiration. And you feel sorry with aching heart that the ephemeral flower of beauty has wilted so quickly, so irrevocably, that the flash has been so deceptive and in vain, you feel sorry because you have not even had the time to come to love it. But say what you like, my night was better than my day. This is what happened. It was very late when I got back to town. The clock had already struck 10 when I was nearing my home. My route lay along the embankment of the canal, where you would hardly meet a soul at this hour of the night. It's true, of course, that I had my lodgings in the most remote part of the city. I walked and sang. For when I am happy, I invariably hum a tune, like every happy man who has neither friends nor acquaintances to share his happiness with. And suddenly, I had a most unexpected adventure. A woman was standing close to the railing, a little distance away from me. She was evidently staring absorbedly at the murky canal waters as she leaned against the grill. She was wearing a pretty yellow bonnet and a dainty little black cape. She's a young lady, and she is sure to be a brunette, I thought, with quiet curiosity. Apparently she did not hear my footsteps. She never stirred as I walked past her with bated breath and loudly beating heart. That's odd, thought I. She must be deep in thought about something. And suddenly, I froze to a standstill. I thought I heard muffled sobs. Yes, I was right. The girl was crying, and she sobbed again and again with quiet despair. Good Lord! My heart cringed with sudden pain, and shy as I was of women, I saw this as an exceptional moment. I turned back, took a step towards her, and would have certainly cried Madame, had I not been aware that this exclamation had already been uttered thousands of times in all the Russian novels of the beau monde. That stopped me. But whilst I searched my mind for a suitable opening, the girl's sobs ceased. She looked about her, pulled herself together, dropped her eyes, and slipped past me along the embankment. I followed her at once, but she crossed the street when she heard me and walked along the pavement on the other side. I lacked the courage to cross the street. My heart fluttered like a captured bird's with anxious hope, and then mere chance came to my rescue. Suddenly I saw a gentleman in evening clothes, dignified in years but not in deportment, appear on the pavement close to the girl. He swayed as he walked, steadying himself by clutching at the wall. The girl hurried on, as fleet and light as an arrow, the way all young girls walk when they do not want the offer of an escort home at night. The swaying gentleman would never have caught up with her, of course, had not the destiny that ruled my fate prompted him to resort to extreme measures. Suddenly, without a word, the gentleman leaped forward and tore off after the girl. She was swift as the wind, but the swaying gentleman was gaining on her. Then he caught up with her. The girl cried out in fear, and I bless my stars for the splendid knobby stick I happened to be carrying in my right hand. In a flash I was on the other side of the street. In a flash the importunate gentleman realized what was afoot, resigned himself to the irresistible argument of the stick, fell back without a word, and only when we were very far away broke into protest against me in rather forceful terms. But we hardly caught his words. "Give me your hand," I said to the young lady, with gentle urgency, "and he will not dare accost us again." Silently, she gave me her hand, which still trembled from fright and agitation. Oh, unknown gentleman, how I blessed you just then with secret triumph. I gave her a fleeting look. She was most sweet and a brunette, so I had surmised correctly. Her black eyelashes were still glistening with tears of recent fright, or was it recent sorrow? I know not, but a radiant smile already touched her lips like dawn. She stole a glance at me too, blushed faintly, and looked down with shy warmth. Now you see, you shouldn't have shunned me earlier. Had I been there, nothing would have happened. But I did not know you. I thought you too. And do you know me now? A little. Now tell me, to begin with, why are you trembling? Oh, you have guessed it. You have guessed at once who you are dealing with. I replied, delighted to find my young lady so clever. It gives an added advantage to beauty. It is true that I am shy of women. I admit that I am agitated as much as you were a minute ago when that gentleman frightened you. I feel somewhat frightened now. It's like a dream. And even in my dreams, I never imagined that someday I would speak to a woman. No? Really? Yes. If my hand trembles now, it is because it has never yet been clasped by a hand as pretty and small as yours. I have become quite unused to women. Or, rather, I have never been used to them. I'm quite alone, you know. I don't even know how to talk to them. At this very moment, too, I am not certain if I haven't said something silly to you. Tell me frankly. I assure you, I shall not mind. Oh, no, on the contrary. But if you insist on my being frank with you, I shall tell you that shyness appeals to women, and if you wish to know more, then I'll tell you it appeals to me too, and I shall not send you away until we reach my house. You'll make me lose all my shyness instantly, I began, breathless with happiness, and then, adieu to the only means that I possess. Means? What means? Now that wasn't very nice of you. Forgive me. I won't say it again. It was just a slip of the tongue. But do you think it possible that, at a moment like this, I should have no wish to be liked? Well, yes. Be kind to me, for heaven's sake, be kind. Think what I am. Here I am, 26 years old, and I have never known anybody yet. So how could I speak well, cleverly, and smoothly? You'll find it better for you, too. If everything is laid frankly before you, I cannot remain mute when my heart is clamoring within me. Oh well, never mind. Can you believe it? Not one woman. Never, not a friend. All I do is dream that someday, somewhere, I shall meet someone. Ah, if you only knew how often I have been in love like that. But how? With whom? Oh, no one, just an ideal, with anyone I saw in my dreams. I make up whole romances in my dreams. Oh, you do not know me. Of course, I have met 2 or 3 women, but what women were they? They were such good housekeepers that. But I'll tell you something that will make you laugh. I have often thought of starting a casual conversation in the street with some lady of the aristocracy. If she were by herself, that is. I would speak to her timidly, of course, with respect and feeling. I'd say that I was dying from loneliness. I'd beg her not to drive me away. I'd tell her that I had no way of getting to know any woman at all. I'd make her see that it was part of her calling as a woman to hear out the timid plea of a man as unhappy as I was, and that, after all, the only thing I was asking of her was to say 2 words of sisterly compassion to me. not to send me away at once, but to take me at my word, listen to what I had to say, to laugh at me if it pleased her, but to give me some hope. Speak 2 words to me, just 2 words, even if we were never to meet again. But I see you are smiling. However, that's what I'm telling you all this for. Don't be upset. I am only smiling because you are your own enemy. And because if you tried it, you would perhaps succeed. Even if it did happen in the street, the simpler the better. No woman with a kind heart, unless, of course, she was stupid or particularly angry at something just then, would dare send you away without speaking the 2 words which you so timidly entreated her to speak. Oh, but what am I saying? Of course she'd take you for a madman. I was judging by myself. Little do I know of the ways of people in this world. Oh, thank you, I cried with overflowing gratitude. You cannot know what you have done for me. Come, come, but tell me, how did you know I was the sort of woman whom you considered worthy of your attention and friendship? In short, not a housekeeper, as you put it. Why did you venture to come up to me? Why? But you were alone. That gentleman was too bold. It's night. You will admit that it is one's duty. No, before that, there on the other side of the street. You did want to come up to me then, didn't you? There, on the other side. But I really don't know how to put it, I'm afraid. Do you know, I was feeling happy today. I walked and sang. I'd been out of town. I had never experienced anything so pleasant before. But I may have just fancied it. Forgive me if I bring it back to you. I fancied you were crying, and I could not bear it. It wrung my heart with tender pain. Oh, dear God, surely I may be allowed to grieve for you. Surely it was not really sinful of me to feel a brotherly compassion for you. Forgive me, I said, compassion. Well, in a word, could I have offended you with my spontaneous wish to come up to you? Enough! Do not say more. Enough, she said, pressing my hand with gentle warmth. It's my own fault. I brought it up myself. But I am glad I was not mistaken in you. Well, here we are. I must turn into this alley. It's only a step or 2. Goodbye and thank you. Can it really mean that we shall never meet again? Is this all there is to be? Now you see, the girl laughed softly. All you wanted at first was 2 words, and now. However, I shall not say anything. Perhaps we shall meet again. I'll be here tomorrow, I said. Forgive me. I see that I am being too persistent. Yes, you are impatient. You are almost too persistent. Pray, listen. Listen, I broke in with eager warmth. Forgive me if I say something to you again that is not. But this is how it is with me. I must come here tomorrow. I, a dreamer. I have so little actual life. Moments like this come to me so rarely that I cannot but live through them again and again in my dreams. I shall dream of you the whole night through. I shall be dreaming of you for a whole week, a whole year. I shall certainly Come here tomorrow, to this very spot, at this very hour, and I shall be happy recalling the day before. This spot is dear to me already. I have 2 or 3 such spots in Petersburg. Once my memories even made me weep. Like you, who can tell, perhaps you, too, were weeping for your memories a little while ago. But pray forgive me. I have forgotten myself again. Perhaps you were once very happy here. Very well, said the girl softly. I think I'll come here tomorrow, at 10 o'clock. I see that I cannot forbid you any longer. The point is that I shall have to be here. Do not think that I am making a rendezvous with you. I am warning you that I shall have to be here for my own reasons. There's only one thing. Oh, well, I'll tell you frankly, it will not matter if you come too. Firstly, there might be some unpleasantness like there was tonight, but that's beside the point. In short, I should simply like to see you, to say 2 words to you, but you will not judge me severely now, will you? You won't think that I make rendezvous too freely. I wouldn't have made this one either, if only, but let it remain my secret. However, on one condition. One condition. Tell me, speak to me, tell me now. I agree to any condition. I am prepared for anything, I cried, enraptured with sudden hope. I shall answer for myself. I shall be obedient, respectful. You know me. It is only because I know you that I am inviting you tomorrow, the girl replied with a laugh. I know you perfectly, but mind you come on condition that firstly, and do be so kind, and do what I am about to ask of you. You see how frank I am? You do not fall in love with me. You mustn't, I assure you. I am prepared to be your friend. Here is my hand. But you must not fall in love with me, I beg you. I swear, I cried, grasping her hand with fervent joy. Come, do not swear. I know you are apt to flare up like gunpowder. Do not mind my saying so. If you only knew I too have no one to talk with, no one to advise me. Of course, the street is not the place to look for advisers. But you are an exception. I know you so well. It seems we have been friends for 20 years. You will not break your promise, will you? You shall see. But now I don't know how to survive the intervening hours. Sleep soundly. That's the way. Good night. And remember that I already trust you. How well you said it that surely every feeling, even brotherly compassion, did not have to be accounted for. Do you know, it was so well said that it instantly occurred to me to put my trust in you. Good Lord, but how? What trust? Until tomorrow. Let it remain a secret till then. So much the better for you. It will seem like a romance, if only in imagination. Maybe I'll tell you everything tomorrow, and maybe not. I shall talk more to you first. We'll come to know each other better. Oh yes, I shall tell you everything about myself tomorrow. But what is it? It's as if a miracle had happened to me. Where am I, dear God? Tell me. Surely you cannot be displeased with yourself, that you did not become angry. like anyone else would have done, and sent me away at the outset just 2 minutes, and you have made me happy forever. Yes, happy, who can tell? Perhaps you have reconciled me to myself, dispelled my doubts. Perhaps I'm just given to spells like that. Oh, well, I'll tell you everything tomorrow. You'll know everything. Everything? Very well, so be it. You'll be the one to begin, if you wish. Goodbye. Goodbye. We parted. I walked all night long. I could not bring myself to go home. I was so happy with overflowing joy. Till tomorrow, second night. You see, you have survived, she said to me, laughing, and taking both my hands in hers with gentle warmth. I've been here for 2 hours. You can't imagine what this day has been like for me. I can, but let's get to the point. Do you know why I'm here? I didn't come here to chat about trifles the way we did last night, you know. Now then, we must act more sensibly in future. I kept thinking about all this for a long time last night. But in what way must we be more sensible? For my part, I am willing. But truly, this is the most sensible thing that ever happened to me in my life. Really? First of all, I must ask you not to crush my hands, so. And secondly, I want you to know that I have pondered about you for a long time today. Well, and what is the verdict? The verdict is that we should begin all over again. Because this morning I came to the conclusion that I hardly knew you at all. That last night I behaved like a child, like a silly girl, and it naturally followed that the fault lay in my kind heart. In other words, I ended up by praising myself the way one always does when one begins to analyze one's actions. And so, to correct my fault, I have decided to find out everything I could about you to the smallest detail. But since there's no one I could ask, you must tell me everything yourself, all your secrets. Now, what sort of person are you? Hurry and answer me. Tell me the story of your life. My story? I cried in alarm. My story. But who could have told you I had a story? I have no story. How did you live then, if you have no story? She interrupted me with a laugh. There's no story to my life at all. I have simply lived a life apart, entirely alone, that is, alone, quite alone. Do you know what it means? Alone. But how? Alone? Do you mean you've never even seen anyone? Oh, no, I do see people occasionally, but nevertheless I am alone. Don't you ever talk to anyone? In the strict sense of the word, no. But what sort of a person are you? Do explain. Wait a minute. I think I know. You probably have a grandmother like I do. She's blind. And it's ages since I've been allowed to go anywhere. And so I've almost lost the habit of conversation. And once, 2 years ago, I did something naughty, and then she saw there was no holding me. So she called me to her and pinned my dress to hers with a safety pin. And that's the way we've been sitting pinned together day after day, ever since then. She sits and knits a sock, blind though she is, and I've got to stay beside her, sewing or reading aloud to her. It's such an odd custom, pinning down someone for 2 whole years. Good heavens, what a misfortune. But no, I have no grandmother at all. But if you haven't, what makes you stay at home? Look here. Do you want to know who I am? Of course I do, in the strict sense, in the strictest. Very well. I am an individual. An individual? What sort of individual? The girl exclaimed, and burst out laughing so merrily one might have thought she had not had a chance to laugh for a whole year. Why, you're most amusing. Look, there's a bench over there. Let's sit down. No one ever comes here. No one will hear us and begin on your story now. Because you do have one, whatever you may say. You're just making a secret of it. First of all, what does individual mean? An individual? An individual is an eccentric, a funny sort of man, I replied, joining in her childlike laughter. It's a character one has. Listen, do you know what a dreamer is? A dreamer? Goodness, who doesn't? I'm a dreamer myself. When I sit beside Grandmama, the things that come into my head sometimes, and then I start weaving dreams, and they carry me so far away, I almost see myself marrying a Chinese prince. You know, it's good to be a dreamer sometimes. But no, perhaps it isn't. I don't know. Especially if you have something else to think about, the girl added, rather seriously now. Splendid. Since you've seen yourself marrying a Chinese prince, you'll be able to understand me perfectly. Now then, listen. But just a moment. I don't even know your name yet. At last. You didn't think of it too soon, did you? Oh, good heavens, it never entered my head. I was happy enough without. My name is Nastenka. Nastenka. Is that all? That's all. Isn't it enough, you greedy man? Enough? On the contrary, it's plenty. It's more than plenty. Nastenka, you must be a very kind-hearted girl, since you're allowing me to call you Nastenka right away. I hope I am. Well, carry on. Now then, Nastenka, just listen to this amusing story. I sat down beside her, assumed a primly grave attitude, and began as if I were reciting a memorized passage. You may not be aware of it, Nastenka, but there are some rather queer corners in Petersburg. The sun, which shines for all the rest of the city, never seems to peep into those places. It's another sun that does, a new one, specially ordered for those remote corners. And it throws a peculiar light on everything. Life in those remote corners seems a world apart, in no way resembling the life that seethes about us. It is the sort of life that could be going on in some fabulous and strange kingdom, and not on our planet at all, in these very, very serious times of ours. And this life is that peculiar mixture of something that is purely fantastic, ardently idealistic, Also, at the same time, alas, Nastenka, bleakly humdrum and ordinary, not to say incredibly banal. Oh, good heavens, what a preamble! What am I going to hear, I wonder? Nastenka, I think I'll never tire of saying your name. Nastenka, you'll hear that these remote corners are inhabited by some queer people, by dreamers. A dreamer, if you must know the precise definition of the word, is not a man. It's a creature of the neuter gender, you see. This creature usually settles down in some inaccessible corner, as if he were hiding from the very light of day, and once he crawls into his shell, he grows attached to it like a snail, or, rather, in this respect he resembles that very amusing animal, which is a house and an animal all in one, called the turtle. Why is he so fond of his four walls, invariably coated with green paint, his grimy, dismal, and outrageously smoke-blackened walls, do you think? Why, when one of his few friends comes to call on him, and he ends up by having no friends left at all, why does this funny gentleman receive his visitor in such a state of confusion? Why is he so embarrassed, his features so contorted, as if he had just committed a crime within his four walls, or had been engaged in forging banknotes, or making up some verses he was going to send to a magazine, accompanied by an anonymous letter saying that the poet himself was dead? But he, his friend, considered it his sacred duty to have the rhymes published. Why, tell me, Nastenka, is the conversation between those two so stilted? Why is there neither laughter nor some witty remark from the puzzled visitor who, under other circumstances, is very fond of laughter and witty remarks, of discussing the fair sex and chatting on other cheerful subjects? Why does this friend, who is obviously a new acquaintance paying his first and only call, for in this case there will be no second, because the friend will never call again, why does this friend become so embarrassed and tongue-tied after all his quickness of wit, if he has it, when he sees the upset expression of his host, who in his turn has become utterly confused and deprived of all coherence after his valiant but vain attempts to cover the gaps and brighten up the conversation, show that he, too, is well versed in the social niceties, to make some sort of remark about the fair sex, and with this deferential behavior at least, to please the poor man who has lost his way and has come calling on him by mistake. Why does the visitor snatch up his hat so suddenly and hurry away, remembering all at once a most important and non-existent appointment, pulling his hand free of his host's feverish grasp, while the latter does everything he can to show that he is sorry and to try and remedy the situation? Why does the visitor burst out laughing as soon as he is out of the room, swearing there, and then never to call on this queer man again, although, in point of fact, the queer man is a splendid chap, really, but at the same time he cannot refuse his imagination to indulge in a little game, that is, to draw a comparison, far-fetched though it be, between the face of his host, way it looked all the time they were in conversation, and that of a miserable little kitten, which, after being mauled about, terrorized, and injured in every possible way by some children who have taken it prisoner by foul means, has in distraction crept away to hide from them under a chair, forced to spend a whole hour there, bristling, snorting, washing its hurt little face with both paws, after which, and for a long time to come, it is to look with animosity upon the world in general, and even upon the 2 bits and pieces from the master's table, saved up for it by the kind housekeeper. I say, broke in Nastenka, who had all this time been listening to me in wonder, with her eyes wide and lips parted. I say, I have no idea why all this has happened, or why you are asking me such funny questions at all. But what I know, definitely, is that all those experiences, from beginning to end, have happened to you. Undoubtedly, I replied, with a most serious mien. Well, if that is so, go on, she said, because I very much want to know how it will all end. You want to know, Nastenka, what the hero was doing in his remote corner. Or rather, for the hero of the whole story was myself, own modest self. You want to know why the unexpected visit of my friend threw me off my balance, disconcerting me for a whole day. You want to know why I was so startled and flustered when the door opened so suddenly, why I was incapable of receiving my visitor properly, and collapsed so ignominiously under the brunt of my own hospitality. Yes, that's it, Nastenka replied. That's what I'd like to know. Look, you are telling it splendidly, but couldn't you somehow make your speech less splendid? Because you sound as if you reading it out of a book. Nastenka, I replied, in a grave and stern voice, barely mastering my desire to laugh. Dear Nastenka, I know that my speech is splendid, but I am sorry I cannot talk differently. At the moment, Nastenka dear, I'm like the ghost of King Solomon, which, after having been kept in a pot sealed down with 7 seals, had at last had all the 7 seals removed. My dear Nastenka, now that we have met again after our long separation, for I have known you a long time, Nastenka, I have long been searching for someone, and that is a sign that you are the one I have been searching for, and that this meeting of ours has been preordained. Now 1,000 taps have burst open in my head, and I must give vent to a torrent of words, or else I shall suffocate. And so I beg you not to interrupt me, Nastenka, but to hear me out meekly and attentively, or I shall say no more. No, 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 oh no. Talk. Do. I shan't say another word. To continue, there is 1 hour during my day which I am exceptionally fond of, my dear friend Nastenka. It's that particular hour when most of the work, duties and business is done, and everyone is hurrying home to dinner, to take a nap, or to spend the evening, the night, and all the rest of his leisure in various jolly pastimes, which he plans as he hurries along. At that hour, our hero too, for you must permit me, Nastenka, to carry on this narrative in the 3rd person, since I'd feel terribly bashful about telling all this in the first person. And so, our hero, whose day has not been idle either, strides on with everyone else. But his pale and somewhat wan face is aglow with a curious expression of pleasure. He watches, not indifferently, the setting sun slowly sinking in the cold sky of St. Petersburg. But when I say he watches it, I am telling a lie. He does not watch. He contemplates it absently, as it were, as if he were tired or engrossed in something else, something of greater interest. So all he could spare the world about him was a fleeting, rather casual moment. He is pleased, because he is through with his vexatious affairs until the morrow, and he is delighted, like a schoolboy, who has been allowed to leave the schoolroom and set free to play his favorite games and pranks. Just glance at him, Nastenka. You'll see at once that his pleasure has already had a happy effect on his weak nerves and his morbid imagination. Now he is lost in reverie. Do you think it's his dinner he is thinking of? Or the evening's amusements? What is he staring at so? Is it the gentleman of imposing appearance bowing so picturesquely to the lady who is driving past in a gleaming carriage drawn by fleet-footed horses? No, Nastenka. What do all those trifles mean to him now? He is rich with the wealth of his own peculiar world now. He came to these riches quite suddenly. It was not in vain that the parting ray of the setting sun flashed so merrily before him, warming his heart and stirring in it a host of fancies. He hardly notices the road where but a moment before he would have been struck by the merest trifles. For already the goddess of fancy, if you have read Zhukovsky, dear Nastenka, has whimsically interlaced the golden warp on her loom, and has begun to weave a tissue of dreams for him, dreams of a fabulous, fantastic life. And who knows, perhaps with her magic hand she has whisked him off the splendid granite pavement he was treading homewards, to the seventh crystal heaven. If you stopped him and asked him abruptly where he was, or what streets he had walked through, he probably wouldn't be able to remember a thing, neither where he had been nor where he was, and, blushing in his embarrassment, he would certainly have invented some tale to save his dignity. And that's why he is so startled, why he almost screams and looks about him in alarm, when a very respectable old lady stops him politely in the middle of the pavement and asks him to show her the way. Scowling with annoyance, he strides on, barely conscious of the passers-by who smile at him and turn back to look after him, or of the little girl who steps timorously out of his way and then bursts into peals of laughter when she sees his wide, contemplative smile and his gesticulating hands. But then the same goddess of fancy picks up and carries away on her playful flight the old lady, the curious passers-by, the laughing little girl and the boatmen, already eating their supper on their barges which clutter up the Fontanka, that is, supposing our hero is passing it at the time. She mischievously weaves everyone and everything into a golden tapestry, the way flies are woven into a spider's web, and the queer man enters his delightful little lair, endowed with this new wealth. He sits down, has his dinner, and is only aroused from his dreams when Matryona, his pensive and ever sorrowful servant woman, has cleared the table and brought him his pipe. He stirs and remembers with surprise that he has already finished his dinner, having missed the process entirely. The room grows dark. Emptiness and sadness fill his heart. A whole realm of fancy crumbles around him, crumbles away into dust with no noise or crash. It has flitted past like a dream, while he does not even remember what he has been dreaming about. But now some obscure sensation, a new desire, which makes his heart throb and ache a little, is exciting and stimulating his imagination seductively and, imperceptibly, calling up a throng of new spectres. Silence reigns in the little room. Fancy is basking in solitude and languor. It flares up softly. It begins to bubble like the water in old Matryona's coffee pot, as she fusses about in the kitchen next door, making her coffee with not another care in the world. Then his fancy begins to break through in little spurts of fire, and the book, taken up aimlessly and at random, falls from my dreamer's hand unread but for a page or two. His imagination is roused and tuned up again, and suddenly a new world, a new fascinating world flashes before his mind in all its dazzling possibilities. A new dream, a new happiness, a new dose of poison, subtle and sensuous. What does he care for our real life? From his drugged point of view, you and I are leading such a slow, lazy, and sluggish life. Nastenka, from his point of view, we are all so dissatisfied with our lot, we are finding life so wearisome. And indeed, look how cold, how sullen and angry we seem to be with one another. Poor souls, my dreamer thinks, and no wonder he thinks so. Look at the magic, animated picture those phantoms weave for him so fascinatingly, so intricately, and so generously, with himself, of course, our dreamer in person, as the most important character ever in the foreground. Look at the variety of adventures. Look at the never-ending flow of his rapturous dreams. You will ask, perhaps, what does he dream of? Why ask? Of everything. Of being a poet, unacclaimed at first and later crowned with glory, of Hoffman's friendship, of St. Bartholomew's Night, of Diana Vernon, of playing a heroic part in the conquest of Kazan by Tsar Ivan, of Clara Mowbray, of Effie Deans, of the council of prelates with Huss before it, of the resurrection of the dead in Robert. Remember the music. That graveyard odor it has, of Mina and Brenda, of the battle at the Berezina, of reading poems in the Salon of Countess the Fifth D, of Danton, of Cleopatra e suoi amanti, of a little house in Kolomna, a nook of his own, and a lovely being beside him, listening to him on a wintry night with eyes wide and lips parted, the way you are listening to me now, my little angel. No, Nastenka, that sensual sluggard cares nothing for the life that you and I are so anxious to taste. He thinks it's a poor and wretched life. He cannot know that for him, too, the bell may toll sadly one day, when for a single hour of this wretched life he'd give all his years of fancy, not in exchange for joy or happiness either. He would not even want to choose in that hour of sorrow, regret, and untrammeled grief. But until that wrathful hour strikes, he desires nothing, for he is above desire, for he already has everything. He is satiated, because he is his own artist, creating new worlds for himself whenever a new whim urges him. And then this fairy tale, this world of fancy can be created so easily, so naturally, as though it were indeed not a phantom at all. Truly, at times I quite believe that all that world is not a mirage, not the creation of my excited senses, not a trick played by my imagination, but that it's actually real, genuine, it exists. Then why? Tell me, Nastenka, why is my spirit anguished at moments like those? Why then? What magic, what strange power makes the pulse quicken, brings tears to the dreamer's eyes, suffuses his pale, tear-stained cheeks with color, and fills his whole being with a joy so heavenly? Why do his sleepless nights seem but mere seconds, passed as they are in infinite happiness and gaiety? And why, when the first rosy sunbeam flashes across the window and dawn sheds its eerie and uncertain light into his room, the way it does here in St. Petersburg, why does our dreamer, fatigued and exhausted, throw himself across his bed and fall asleep, swooning with ecstasy, obsessing his diseased and shaken spirit, and with a pain so insufferably sweet filling his heart. Yes, Nastenka, it deceives you, and you unwittingly come to believe that the passion stirring in his soul is real and genuine. You come to believe there is indeed something tangible, animate, in his incorporeal dreams. Think of the deceit of it. For instance, love enters his heart in all its infinite joyousness, with all its poignant torment. A mere glance at him will convince you. Would you believe it, looking at him, Nastenka dear, that he has never really known the one he has loved so in his rapturous dreams? Surely he could not have seen her in his deceptive fantasies alone, and have only dreamed of this passion. Can it be true that they did not really go through so many years of their lives together, hand in hand, just the two of them, forsaking the whole world and blending their destinies, their two private worlds into one? Then was it not she who lay sobbing and grieving upon his breast that night, the night of parting, deaf to the storm that was raging beneath the grim sky, heedless of the wind that was blowing the teardrops off her black eyelashes and whisking them away? Surely it could not have all been a dream. That garden, too, dismal, neglected, and wild, its paths overgrown with moss, that gloomy and lonely garden where they had walked so often, hoping, despairing, and loving, yes, loving each other so long and so tenderly. And that strange ancestral home, where she had lived for so many years in retirement and sadness with her morose, ever taciturn and choleric old husband, who used to frighten them as if they were two timid children, concealing their love from each other so timorously and disconsolately. What agony they suffered, how frightened they were, how pure and innocent was their love, and how vicious people were. That goes without saying, Nastenka. But good God, can it be that it was not her he met again long afterwards, far from the shores of his homeland, under a foreign sky, a hot and sultry sky in the beautiful eternal city, at a brilliant ball, to the resounding strains of the orchestra, at the palazzo? It had to be a palazzo, flooded with light. Was it not her he saw on the balcony, entwined with roses and myrtle? Where, the moment she saw him, she lifted her mask so hastily, and whispering, "I am free," flew, trembling, into his arms. With a cry of joy, they clung together. And in a moment everything was forgotten, their sorrow and their separation, all their sufferings, the gloomy house, the old and taciturn man, the cheerless garden in their distant homeland, the garden seat where, with a parting, passionate kiss, she tore herself away from his arms, grown numb with the agony of despair. Oh, Nastenka, you must agree that you would be startled. You'd blush and behave like a schoolboy who had just stuffed into his pocket an apple he had stolen from the neighbor's garden, if your door were suddenly flung open to admit an uninvited friend, some tall, robust chap, a merry soul and a wit, shouting as though nothing out of the ordinary had happened. "And I'm just back from Pavlovsk this very minute, old chap." Oh God! The old Count was dead, the hour of ineffable happiness was nigh, and here was someone who had just arrived from Pavlovsk. I paused with pathos, having come to the end of my pathetic utterances. I remember how hard I strove to bring myself to laugh just then, for I could already feel some hostile imp stirring in my heart. My breath was caught in my throat, my chin was beginning to quiver, and my eyes were swimming more and more. I was afraid that Nastenka, who had been listening to me with her clever eyes wide open, would burst out laughing with her spontaneous, childlike laughter, and I felt sorry I had gone so far, had needlessly told that which had long been overburdening my heart, which I could recite like a passage committed to memory, because I had long ago passed a verdict on myself, and I had been tempted to read it out to her, although, I must admit, I did not expect to be understood. But to my surprise, she remained silent, and a little later pressed my hand lightly and asked with a note of timid interest, "Have you really lived like that? All your life?" "All my life, Nastenka," I replied. "All my life, and I suppose I shall go on like this till the end." "No, you can't," she said anxiously. "It won't be so, for then I, too, might have to spend the rest of my life sitting beside my grandmama. Listen, do you know that it's not right at all to live like that?" "I do, Nastenka. I do," I cried, restraining my emotion no longer. "I know it better than ever, now that I have wasted the best years of my life. I know it now, and the knowledge hurts me more. For God Himself has sent you to me, my kind angel, to tell me this, and to convince me in this knowledge. Now that I am sitting here beside you, talking to you, I dread the thought of the future, for the future holds nothing but loneliness. Again, nothing but that senseless, musty life. And what am I to dream of now that I have been so happy with you in reality? Oh, you dear girl, may you be blessed because you did not repulse me, because now I can say that I have lived at least 2 evenings in my life." "Oh, no," Nastenka cried, and tear-drops glistened on her eyelashes. "No, it will not be so. We shall not part so casually. What are 2 evenings? Nastenka, oh Nastenka, do you know that you have reconciled me to myself for a long time to come now? Do you know that I shall no longer think so ill of myself as I am sometimes apt to do? Do you know that I may not despair any longer that I have committed a crime and a sin in my life? For a life like mine is a crime and a sin. And pray do not think I have exaggerated anything to you. For heaven's sake do not think that, Nastenka, because at times I am possessed by melancholy, such utter melancholy, because when these spells come over me, I begin to think that I am incapable of ever starting to live anew, a real life, because it seems to me that I have already lost all touch, all sense of the real and the actual, because I had been selling my soul, because my nights of fantasy are now followed by moments of soberness, and they are frightening. And meanwhile, you can hear life clamoring and eddying about you in a human whirlpool. You can see people living a real life. You can see that their world has not been made to order, that it will not be shattered like a dream or a vision, that their life is ever youthful, ever rejuvenescent, and that every hour in it differs from the last, whereas timorous fancy is bleak and monotonous to the point of boredom, a slave to every shadow and notion, a slave to the first cloud that blots out the sun and wrings with distress the heart of 2. Every true man of St. Petersburg who sets so much store by its sun. And what is fancy and distress? You can feel the constant strain wearing out and exhausting your inexhaustible fancy at last, because you are maturing, you are outgrowing your former ideals. They are shattered to pieces, reduced to dust. If you have no other life to live, you are compelled to rebuild it out of the same broken bits and pieces. And yet your soul yearns for and demands something different. In vain, the dreamer rakes up the ashes of his old dreams, hoping to find at least a tiny spark among the ruins in order to fan it to life again, to warm his chilled heart with this resurrected fire and bring back to it all that was so dear before, that moved it, that set his blood on fire, that wrung tears from his eyes and deceived him so gloriously. Do you know what I've come to, Nastenka? Do you know that I now have to mark the anniversary of my past emotions, of my affection for what has been before but actually had never happened, because this anniversary, too, has to be observed according to the same foolish, incorporeal dreams. I am driven to it because the foolish dreams themselves are no more, for I have nothing to support them with. You have to live your dreams too, you know. Do you know that now I like to remember and revisit, on certain dates, the spots where I have once known happiness in my own peculiar way? I like to attune my present to my irrevocable past, and often I wander up and down the alleyways and streets of St. Petersburg like a ghost, depressed and sad, with no aim or purpose. Oh, the memories that are mine! I recall, for instance, that here, exactly a year ago to the hour, I had wandered up and down the same pavement as lonely and depressed as I am now. And I recall that my dreams were just as sad. And though it wasn't any better then than it is now, you somehow can't help thinking that life was easier and more tranquil in those days, untroubled as it was by that black thought which is harassing me now, that I was not preyed upon by these pangs of conscience, grim and painful pangs, which give me no peace, day and night. And you ask yourself, where are those dreams of yours? You shake your head and say, how the years go by. And again you ask yourself, what have you done with your life? Where have you buried your best years? Have you lived or not? Look, you tell yourself, look how cold it's becoming in the world. More years will pass, bringing dismal loneliness with them, and then shivering old age will come leaning on a crutch, and after that just misery and bleakness. Your phantom world will grow dim. Your dreams will wither and fall like dead, yellow leaves. Oh, Nastenka, won't it be sad to remain alone, entirely alone, with nothing even to regret? Nothing at all. For whatever I lose, all that will have been nothing. A mere stupid naught, nothing but dreams. Stop. Don't move me to further pity, said Nastenka, wiping away a teardrop. It's all over now. There will be two of us now. We'll never part again, no matter what happens to me. I am a simple girl. I have not studied much, though Grandmama did hire a teacher for me. But truly I can understand you, because everything you have just told me I went through myself when Grandmama kept me pinned to her dress. Of course I couldn't have told it as well as you have done, because I've never studied, she added bashfully, for she still felt a certain respect for the pathos of my speech and my lofty style. But I am very glad you have opened your heart to me. Now I know you. I know. You perfectly. And you know, I want to tell you my story too, all of it without reserve, and for this you'll give me your advice afterwards. You are a very clever man. Will you promise to give me your advice afterwards? Nastenka, I replied. Though I've never been an adviser, and a clever one at that, I see now that if we're to go on like this, it will be the best thing possible, and then each of us will advise the other most cleverly. Well, my pretty Nastenka, what do you want to know? Tell me frankly. I am so happy now, so gay, so daring and wise, that I shan't be long in answering. No, Nastenka interrupted, laughing. It's not just a clever bit of advice I'm looking for, but sincere and brotherly counsel, the sort you'd give me if you had been fond of me all your life. Very well, Nastenka, very well, I cried exultantly. And had I been fond of you for 20 years, I nevertheless could not have been fonder of you than I am now. Your hand, said Nastenka. Take it. I gave her my hand, and so we shall begin my story. 57 Nastenka's story. You know half of my story already. At least you know that I have an old grandmother. If the other half is as brief as this one, I broke in with a smile. Be quiet and listen. I must make one condition, though. Do not interrupt me, or I'll make a muddle of it. Do listen quietly now. I have an old grandmother. I went to live with her when I was a very little girl, because both my mother and my father were dead. It must be presumed that Grandmama was wealthier then than she is now, for she still recalls those better days. She taught me French herself, and then she hired a tutor for me. When I was 15, I'm 17 now, my studies came to an end. That was when I did that naughty thing. What it was I shall not tell you, sufficient to say that it was nothing much. But Grandmama called me to her one morning and said that being blind, she could not keep an eye on me, and, taking a safety pin, she pinned my dress to hers. And that's when she told me we'd stay like that for the rest of our days, unless I 58 improved, of course. Well, in the beginning there was no hope of getting away at all. I had to sit by Grandmama's side whether I was reading, studying, or knitting. I tried cunning once and talked Fyodor into taking my place. Fyodor is our servant woman. She's deaf. She took my seat. Grandmama fell asleep in our chair just then, and I went off to see a girl who lived nearby. It all ed badly, of course. Grandmama woke up and said something, thinking I was still sitting quietly beside her. Fyodor saw that Mama was asking a question, but she could not hear what it was. She thought and thought what she should do, and she undid the pin and ran away. At this Nastenka burst out laughing. I laughed with her. She broke off at once. I say, you mustn't laugh at Grandmama. I can, because it's funny. Grandmama really can't help being like that, but I do love her a little anyway. I was punished good and proper then. Back in my place I was put, and I could not so much as move a finger after that. Well then, I forgot to tell you that or rather Grandmama, has a house of her own. 59, that is a little cottage, with just 3 windows facing the street. It's all wooden and as old as Grandmama herself. And there's an attic. One day, a new lodger moved into this attic. That means you had an old lodger, too, I remarked casually. Of course we had, Nastenka replied, and that one could hold his tongue better than you can. It's true. He could hardly move his tongue at all by then. He was a little old man. He was thin, deaf, blind, and lame. At last he could not go on living any longer, and so he died. That's why we had to have a new lodger, because we can't manage out one. That and Grandmama's pension is about all we have. As luck would have it, the new lodger was a young man, a newcomer, not a local man. Grandmama let him have the room because he didn't haggle over the rent. And then she asked me, "Tell me, Nastenka, is our lodger a young man?" I did not want to tell a lie, so I said, "He's not particularly young, Grandmama. Neither is he old." "And is his appearance pleasing?" she asked. And again I did not want to tell a lie, so I said, "Yes, this appearance is pleasing." And Grandmama said, Ah, what a shame, what a shame. I'm warning you, granddaughter, don't you look at him or think of him. Dear me, what the world is coming to. Just imagine, a mere attic lodger, and his appearance is pleasing too. It wasn't like this in my day. Grandmama was always banpinnig on her day. She was younger in her day, and the sun shone warmer in her day, and cream did not turn sour so quickly then. Everything went back to her day. There was I sitting, and thinking, now why does Grandmama herself put ideas into my head, asking me if our lodger was handsome and young? But the thought just occurred to me in passing. I took up my knitting again, counted the stitches, and forgot all about it. We had promised to paper our lodger's room for him, and so one morning he came in to inquire about it. One word led to an other. Grandmama's chatty, you know, and then she said, "Go to my bedroom, Nastenka, and fetch me the counting board." I jumped up at once, blushing all over. I don't know why, and quite forgetting I was pinned down, instead of undoing the pins stealthily. 61 so the lodger shouldn't see. I started up, and Grandmama's chair slid along the floor. When I saw that the lodger knew everything about me now, I blushed and froze to the spot, suddenly bursting into tears. The bitterness and shame of it was more than I could bear. Grandmama shouted, "What are you standing there for?" and I cried harder than ever. When the lodger realized that I was ashamed because of him, he took his leave at once and went away. And ever afterwards, I almost died if I heard a sound in the hall. There comes the lodger, I'd think, and I would quietly undo the pin just to be on the safe side. But it was never he. He never came. 2 weeks went by. One day the lodger sent us a message through Fyodor to say that he had plenty of French books, all good books, fit to read, and he wondered if Grandmama would like me to read them to her eye for a change. Grandmama accepted his offer gratefully, but she kept asking if the books were moral, because if they were immoral, she said, it would never do for you to read them, Nastenka, because they'd teach you to do wrong. But what would they teach me, Grandmama? What's written in them? I asked. Ah, she said, they're all about young men seducing decent girls, carrying them off from their parents' homes, pretending they want to marry them, abandoning these poor girls to their fate afterwards, and the end the girls come to is too sad to relate. I've read many such books, Grandmama said, and they tell all this so beautifully that you stay up all night, reading them on the quiet. So mind you don't ever read them, Nastenka. What sort of books has he sent, you say? Novels by Sir Walter Scott, all of them, Grandmama. Sir Walter Scott's novels. Are you sure there's no trick here? Take a look and see if he hasn't hidden a love letter in one of them. No, Grandmama, I said. There is no letter. Look under the binding. They sometimes thrust them under the binding, the brigands to know, Grandmama, there's nothing under the binding either. Well, mind, there isn't. And so we began to read Sir Walter 63 Scott, and in the space of a month we finished half the books. Then our lodger sent us more and more books. He sent us some Pushkin too. So finally I couldn't live without books, and I stopped dreaming of marrying a Chinese prince. That's how it was when one day I chanced upon our lodger on the stairs. Grandmama had sent me to fetch something. He stopped. I blushed, and he blushed too. He smiled, however, said, "How do you do?" asked how Grandmama was, and then inquired, "Have you read the books?" I replied, "I have." "Which book did you like best?" B asked, and I said, "I liked Ivanhoe and Pushkin best DOTF all." That was all there was on that occasion. A week later, I came across him on the stairs again. Grandmama hadn't sent me that time. I had to get something for myself. It was after 2, the hour when our lodger usually came home. "How do you do?" he said, and I said, "How do you do?" "Tell me," he said, "don't you find it dull sitting with your grandmama all day long?" When he asked me that, I felt hot with shame and bitterness again. I really don't 64% know why, unless it was because others were beginning to ask me questions about this business. I thought I'd say nothing and go away, but my strength failed me. "You're a good girl," he said. "Forgive me for talking to you like this, but I assure you I feel a deeper aeonian for you than your grandmama does. Have you no friends at all you eat go and visit?" I told him I had none. There had been one, Mashenka, but she'd gone away to scoff. "Listen," he said, "would you like to come to the theater with me?" "The theater? But what will grandmama say?" "Come without telling grandmama." No," I said. "I don't want to deceive grandmama. Goodbye." Goodbye, B said and didn't utter an other word. And then after dinner the same day he came to us, he took a chair, talked long with grandmama, asked her if she ever went out at all, and if she had any friends, and suddenly he said, "I've taken a box for the opera tonight. The Barber of Seville is on. Some friends of mine were coming, but then they 5 to 120.65 changed their minds, and now I have the tickies to spare." "The Barber of Seville v. Grandmama," cried. "Is that the same barber they used to play in my day?" "Yes," he said, "the very same barber." And he gave me a look. I had understood it all already. I blushed, and my heart leapt in anticipation. "Why, of course," Grandmama said. "Of course, I know it. I myself used to play the part of Rosina in our private theatricals in the old days." "Wouldn't you care to come tonight?" the lodger asked. "I have the tickets, you know." "Yes, I think we'll go," said Grandmama. "Why shouldn't we? And then my Nasenka has never been to the theatre yet." Oh heavens, what joy! We began to get ready at once. We dressed and went. Al. Though Grandmama is blind, she still wanted to hear the music, and besides, she's a kind-hearted old lady. She wanted to give me a treat. We'd never have arranged to go by ourselves. I can't tell Yoyu what my impressions were of the Barber of Seville, but I will say that all evening long our lodger, 66, kept looking at me so kindly. Ho spoke to me so gently that I instantly grasped that he had only been putting me to the test that morn. When he asked me to go alone with him, I was overjoyed. I went to sleep that night feeling so proud and happy. My heart beat so, it made me slightly feverish. And all night long I raved of the Barber of Seville. I thought that now he'd come calling on us more and more frequently, but I was quite mistaken. He almost ceased coming altogether. He'd drop in casually once a month or so, and only to invite us to come to the theatre again. We did go once or twice. But I wasn't pleased with that at all. I saw that he was merely sorry for me because Grandmama was treating me so badly, and that was all there was to it. I brooded and brooded, and then something came over me. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't read. I couldn't work at my knitting. I'd lie sometimes and do something to spite Grandmama, or another time I'd simply weep. I grew so thin, I almost fell ill. The opera season was over and our lodger stopped coming to see us altogether. When we happened to meet, on the same stairs of course, he would bow to 5 times 67 me, so gravely, and so silently, as if he didn't want to talk to me at all, and he'd be out on the porch and away, while I still stood halfway up the stairs, blushing red like a cherry, because whenever I saw him all the blood would come rushing to my head. It's almost the end now. Last May, our lodger called on Grandmamma and told her that since he had completed all his affairs here, he would be going away to Moscow again for a year. When I heard this, I paled and sank fainting onto a chair. Grandmamma noticed nothing, while he, after announcing his departure, bowed and left. What was I to do? I thought and thought. I fretted and worried, and at last I came to a decision. He was to leave on the morrow, and I made up my mind to take the final step that very evening after Grandmamma had retired. And this I did. I made a bundle of all the dresses I had and some underclothes, and with the bundle in my arms, more dead than alive, I climbed the attic stairs to our lodger's room. I think it took me an hour to climb those stairs. I pushed open his door and he gasped when he saw me. He thought I was a ghost, and then he rushed to get me 68 some water, for I could hardly stand. My heart was beating so loudly that my head hurt and my mind reeled. When I recovered, I simply put my bundle on his bed and sat down beside it, and, covering my face with my hands, I dissolved in tears. He must have understood everything at once. He stood before me so pale and with such a sad look in his eyes that it tore at my heart. "Nastenka," he began, "pray listen to me. I cannot do anything. I'm a poor man. I have nothing yet, not even a decent post. What would we live on if I married you?" We talked for a long time, and finally, in my distraction, I told him I could not live with Grandmamma any longer, that I would run away, that I did not want to be pinned down with a safety pin, and that I'd go to Moscow with him whether he wished it or not, because I could not live without him. It was everything, shame, love, and pride, all welling up in me at once, and I fell on his bed, practically in a fit. I so dreaded his refusal. He sat on in silence for a few minutes, then he stood up, came close to me and took my hand in his. "My dear, my kind Nastenka," he began, and he was weeping too. "Hear me out. I swear to you, if ever I am in a position to marry, you and no one else will be the one to make me happy. Believe me when I say that you alone could make me happy now. Listen then, I am going away to Moscow, and I shall remain there exactly a year. I hope I shall have settled my affairs by then. When I come back, and if you have not ceased loving me, I swear to you, we shall be happy. But now it is impossible. I cannot. I have no right to offer anything at all. I repeat, though, that if it does not happen in a year's time, some day it certainly will, it's understood of us, that it is only in the event of your not preferring another to me, for I cannot and dare not bind you with a promise. That's what he said to me, and he left the following day. We had agreed not to breathe a word of this to Grandmamma. He wished it so. There it is. My story is almost finished now. Exactly a year has passed. He has come back. He's been here for 3 whole days. And 70 and what? I cried, impatient to hear the end of the story. And he has not shown up yet, Nastenka replied with an obvious effort. No word or sound from him. She stopped, paused a little, dropped her head, and, suddenly burying her face in her hands, began to weep so dreadfully it wrung my heart. Never had I expected such an ending. "Nastenka," I began in a timid and coaxing voice. "Nastenka, for heaven's sake don't cry. How can you know? He may not be here yet." He is. Nastenka took up. "He's here. I know it. We had it all settled the night before he left, when everything had been said and agreed between us. The way I told you now, we came out for a breath of air to this very spot here. It was 10 o'clock. We sat on this bench. I wasn't crying anymore. I listened enraptured to what he would say. Lai said he'd come to me the moment he returned, and if I didn't refuse him, we would tell Grandmama all about it. And now he's back. I know it. And yet, he doesn't come. He doesn't come." Section, he burst out crying again. "And good God! Can nothing at all be done to help?" I cried and sprang up from the bench in utter despair. "Tell me, Nastenka, perhaps if I went and saw him it would help." "Could you, do you think?" she asked, suddenly raising her head. "No, of course not." I caught myself up. "I have another idea. Write him a letter." "No, I couldn't possibly. It isn't done," she replied resolutely, but at the same time she dropped her eyes and tried to avoid my gaze. "Why not? Why isn't it done? I you Ed, carried away by my suggestion, but it must be a special letter, you know. It all depends on the way it's worded. Oh, Nastenka, it's truly so. Put your trust in me, pray do. I would not give you ill advice. All this can be put right. You were the one who made the first step then. Why not now?" No, it will seem that I am being too forward. Ah, my dear sweet Nastenka." I smiled as I interrupted her. It won't. It is your right, because he gave you his word. And then, from all you've told me, I can see that he's a tactful man. He acted honora. "Bly," I went on, exulting more and more in 72, the logic of my own reasoning and persuasions. "How did he act?" "He bound himself with a promise. He said he would not marry anyone but you if ever he married at all, and at the same time he left you perfectly free to refuse him whenever you wished. For you are justified in taking the first step. You have the right. You have the advantage over him. Supposing now you wanted to release him from his promise, tell me, how would you write it?" "Write what?" "This letter. I'd say, 'Dear Sir,' must it be 'Dear Sir'?" "Certainly. But I don't know, perhaps. Never mind, go on." "Dear Sir, I am sorry On second thought, no. You need make no excuses. The fact itself will justify everything. Write it simply, 'I am writing to you. Forgive me my impatience, but for a whole year now I have lived in hopes of happiness. Am I to blame that now I cannot bear a day of doubt? You have come back. You may have changed your mind. In that case, this letter will tell you that I neither repine nor judge you. I do not judge you because I have no power over your RT. Such is my fate. You are a man of honor. You will neither smile nor be annoyed with my impatient lines. You will remember that the one who is writing them is a poor, lonely girl who has no one to guide or advise her, one who has never been able to master her heart. But forgive the doubt that for a single moment crept into my soul. You are incapable of hurting, even in your thoughts, the one who loved you so and loves you still. Yes, yes, it's exactly the way I thought it should be, Nastenka cried, and her eyes shone with joy. Oh, you have dispelled my doubts. It's God himself who sent you to me. Thank you. Thank you. For what? For having been sent to you by God himself, I said, looking in delight at her joyful face. Yes, if only for that. Nastenka. Sometimes, you know, we're grateful to some people for merely living in the same world with us. I'm grateful to you because we came to know each other, because for the rest of my life now I shall remember you. 74 enough. Enough. And now, listen to what I have to. Say we had arranged it between us that as soon as he came back he'd let me know at once, by leaving a letter for me with some friends of mine. Good, simple people, who know nothing at all about this. Or, if he were unable to write to me, for you can't always say everything in a letter, he'd come here the very day of his return at 10 o'clock sharp, to this spot where we had made our rendezvous. I know he has arrived, but it's 3 days now, and he has neither come himself, nor left a letter for me. It's quite impossible for me to leave my grandmamma during the day. Will you then go to these good people I told you about tomorrow, and leave my letter with them? They'll send it on, and if there is an answer, you are to bring it here yourself at 10 o'clock. But the letter. You must write the letter first, you know. It won't be till the day after tomorrow then. The letter, said Nastenka in some confusion. Why, the letter. She did not finish. At first she turned away from me. Then she blushed like a rose, and suddenly one felt the letter in my hand. Evie, gently written long ago, all ready, addressed and sealed. A wisp of memory, tender and delicate, flitted through my mind. Row, see na, I began. Rosima. We sang together, all but embracing her in my joy, and she, blushing to the roots of her hair, laughing through the tears which glistened like tiny pearls on her black eyelashes. Enough. Goodbye now, she said hastily. Here is the letter, and here is the address where you're to take it. Goodbye till tomorrow. She pressed my hands warmly, nodded her head, and flew like an arrow into her alleyway. I remained where I was for a long time, following her with my eyes. Till tomorrow, raced through my mind when she had disappeared from view. Third night, this was a rainy and doleful day, with never a glimmer of light, a day like my lonely old age will be. Strange thoughts are crowding in on me, feelings so obscure, problems so vague are thronging my mind, and 76, yet I somehow lack both strength and desire to give them clarity. No, it is not for me to solve all this. We shall not meet tonight. Clouds had begun to gather in the sky, and a mist had risen when we said goodbye to each other the previous night. I said the weather would be bad the next day. She made no reply. She did not want to disappoint herself. For her the day would be dear and bright, without the flimsiest cloud to overshadow her happiness. If it rains we shall not see each other, she had said. I shall not come. I thought she wouldn't even have noticed today's rain, and yet she had not come. Last night we had our third rendezvous, our third white night. It is remarkable, however, what beauty one attains through happiness and joy, how one's heart abounds with love. You feel you want to pour out all your love into another heart. You want everything about you to resound with gaiety and laughter and joy. How contagious it is. The night before there had been such tenderness in her words, such kindness in her heart. She was so sweet to 77 me, so considerate of my feelings. She gave me hope and heart in such caressing tones. Oh, what a world of coquetry, inspired by her happiness, and I thought that it was genuine. I thought that she... But good God, how could I have thought it? How could I have been so blind when everything belonged to another already, when nothing was mine, when her very tenderness, her solicitude, her love, yes, even her love for me, was nothing but her delight in the coming rendezvous with the other one, her eagerness to urge her happiness on me. Because she did frown, she did grow frightened and shy when he failed to come, when we had waited for him in vain. All her movements, all her words became less light, less playful and gay. And strange to say, she redoubled her attentions to me, as if she instinctively wanted to pour out on me that which she herself was hoping for, and which she dreaded to think might not come true. My Nastenka grew so frightened and perplexed that I believe she finally came to understand my love for her and took pity on my poor heart. Thus, when we ourselves are unhappy, we are more sensitive to the unhappiness of others. Feeling then is not destroyed in us, but concentrated. Rather, I went to her with a warm heart, eager for the hour of the rendezvous to arrive. I had no foreboding then of what I should be feeling now. I had no foreboding that it would end thus. She was radiant with joy. She was awaiting his reply. He himself was to be her reply. He was to come running to her call. She was there I a full hour be. For I was. Everything amused her at first. She laughed at every word I said. I was about to tell her what was in my heart, but did not. "Do you know why I'm so delighted?" she said. "Why I'm so delighted with you? Why do I love you so today?" "No, why?" I asked, and my heart fluttered. "I love you so because you have not fallen in love with me. Why, anyone else in your place would have pestered me, and worried me, would have moped and sighed. And you are so nice." At this she crushed my hand so hard I almost cried out. She laughed. "What a wonderful friend you are," she said very gravely a minute later. "Why, God himself has sent you to me. Just think what would have become of me if you hadn't been with me now. You are so unselfish. Your love for me is so generous. We shall be great friends after I am married, greater friends than if we were brother and sister. I shall love you almost as much as him." For a moment I felt so dreadfully sad. However, something not unlike laughter was stirring in my heart. "You're in a fit," I said. "You're frightened. You think he will not come." "Heavens, no," she replied. "Were I less happy, I believe I could have cried now from your reproaches and your lack of faith. However, you've given me food for days of thought, but I shall think about it later. And now I confess to you that what you said is true. Yes, it is. I'm all upset somehow. I'm all anticipation, and my feelings are somehow too vulnerable. But enough. Let us leave our feelings aside." The sound of footsteps startled us. A man's form emerged from the gloom and came towards us. We both trembled. She almost cried out. I dropped her hand and made as if to leave her. But we were wrong. It was not he. "What are you afraid of?" "Why did you drop my hand?" she asked, and gave me her hand again. "Well then, why not? We'll meet him together. I want him to see how much we love one another." How much we love one another, I cried. Oh, Nastenka, I thought. How much that one word means. Love like this weighs upon the spirit heavily and chills the heart. Your hand is cool and mine is hot like fire. Oh, Nastenka, how blind you are. Oh, how intolerable a happy person is at times. But I could not be angry with you. At last I could contain my feelings no longer. Nastenka, I cried. Do you know what I have been through since last night? Know what? Tell me quickly. Why didn't you say anything until now? To begin with, Nastenka, after I had ride out all your errands, delivered the letter, and been to your kind friends, I came 6 to 12081 home. After that I came back home and went to sleep. Is that all? She laughed, interrupting. Yes, almost all, I replied with an effort, for stupid tears were welling up in my eyes. I awoke an hour before our rendezvous, but I did not seem to have slept at all. I do not understand exactly what it was. I came here to tell you all about it, to tell you that time had seemed to stop for me, that from that moment on one feeling alone, one sensation would have to remain with me forever after, that the moment would have to last and eat a nitty, as if all life had stopped for me. When I awoke, I thought I was remembering a melody that I knew long ago, something sweet, once heard somewhere and then forgotten. It seemed to me that all my life it had been striving to burst forth from my heart, and only now. Oh, good heavens, Nastenka broke in. What is all this about? I don't understand a word you're saying. Ah, Nastenka, I so wanted to try and make you feel this strange sensation. I began miserably in a voice which still held a particle of hope, though only a very minute one. Etu, hush, don't go on, she said, and in a flash she understood all, the clever girl. All at once she became rather unusually talkative, gay and playful. She took my arm. She laughed and tried to make me laugh as well, and every word I uttered in my confusion evoked in her long peals of laughter. I was getting angry, and abruptly she changed to a flirtatious tone. Do you know, she said, it does vex me a little that you have not fallen in love with me. Puzzle a woman's heart out after this. But anyway, Mr. Adamant, you cannot but praise me for my frankness. I tell you everything, no matter how silly the thought that comes into my head. Listen. Can it be 11? I said, listening to the rhythmic booming of the bell in the town tower far away. She broke off her laughter, suddenly lapsing into silence, and began to count the strokes. Yes, it is 11, she brought out at last in a timid and quavering voice. I instantly felt sorry I had frightened her and had made her count the hours, and I cursed myself for my fit of malice. Her plight saddened me, and I did not know how to six. I began to console her, to invent excuses law Ephraim. Ito try and prove to her that his failure to coin was justified. There was no one easier to convince than Nastenka at a moment like this. Or rather, I should say, that at a moment like this one is apt to listen gladly to any sort of consolation, and is extremely relieved if there is the faintest shadow of a pretext to be found. It's really funny, you know, I said, warming to my subject more and more, and glorying in the extraordinary lucidity of my arguments. He couldn't have possibly come. You've deceived and confused me too, Nastenka, So much so that I've mixed up all the time factors. Just think a moment. The letter could have hardly reached him yet. Supposing he can't come, supposing he's writing a reply, but then you wouldn't get it till tomorrow. I'll go and fetch it as early as can be tomorrow, and I'll let you know at once. Try to imagine the thousands of unexpected things which could have happened. What if he wasn't in when your letter arrived? And it may be that he hasn't even read it yet. After all, anything may have happened. 84%, of course, Nastenka replied. I never thought of it. I dare say anything may have happened. She went on in a most compliant tone, which was marred, however, by a false note, struck by some vague and contrary thought of hers. Now, this is what you must do, she said. Go there as early as you can tomorrow, and if you find an inswer, let me know at once. You know where I live, don't you? Amid, she told me her address again. And then she suddenly became so sweet to me, so tender. She appeared to be listening intently to all I was saying to her, but when I put a direct question to her, she made no reply and turned her face away from me in embarrassment. I looked into her eyes. Yes, that was it. She was crying. Oh, dear me, what a baby you are. What childishness. Come now. She tried to smile, to pull herself together, but her chin quivered and her bosom still heaved. It's you I'm thinking of, she said after a pause. You're so good. My heart would have been made of stone if I were incapable of feeling it. Do you know what has occurred to me now? I was comparing the two of you. Why isn't he you? Why is he not like Jon? You are better than B is, even though I do love him more. I made no reply at all. She seemed to be expecting me to say something. It may be, of course, that I do not quite understand him yet, that I do not know him well enough. You know, I think I've always been afraid of him. He was always so serious, sort of proud. Of course I know he only looks like that. There's more tenderness in his heart than in mine. I remember the way he looked at me that time I went to him with my bundle. But still, I think I have too much respect for him, and that sounds as if we weren't equals, doesn't it? No, Nastenka, no, I replied. It means that you love him more than anything in the world, and more than you love yourself. Yes, I suppose that's it, the simple-hearted girl agreed. But you know what occurred to me now? Only this has nothing to do with him at all. I'm speaking generally. I've been thinking of all this for a long time. Now why can't we all be brothers? Why do even the best of people seem to be keeping something back, something secret from the 86 others? Why not just put into words whatever you have in your heart, if you know you mean it? Yet everyone tries to look more forbidding than he really is, as though afraid it would be an insult to his feelings if they were displayed too soon. Nastenka, it's true what you were saying. But there are many different reasons for it, I put in, curbing my own feelings more than ever at that moment. No, she cried, profoundly moved. You, for one, are not like the others. I don't know how best to tell you the way I feel, but it seems to me that you, for one, now, for instance, it seems to me that you are sacrificing something for me, she added softly with a fleeting glance at me. You must forgive my saying this to you. I am but a simple girl. I have not seen much of the world yet, And indeed I don't know how to say things sometimes," she said, in a voice trembling with some secret emotion which he tried to conceal with a smile. "But I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am to you. But I can feel all this too. Oh, may you be blessed with happiness for this. And as for all those things you told me about your dreamer Teehee other day, none of it is true. That is, it has nothing to do with you at all. You are recovering. You really are quite different from what you have described yourself to he. If ever you come to love someone, I wish you every happiness with her. There's nothing I can wish her, for she will indeed be happy with you. I know. I'm a woman myself, and you must believe me if I say so." She fell silent and pressed my hand warm lie. In my excitement I could not say anything either. Several minutes passed. "It's obvious he will not come tonight," she said at last, lifting her head. "It's late. He'll come tomorrow," I said in a most firm and convincing tone of voice. "Yes," she added, brightening. "I can see it myself now. He'll only come tomorrow." "Well, goodbye. Till tomorrow. If it rains, I may not come, but the day after tomorrow I will. I'll come for certain, no matter what. And you be sure to come. I want you to. I'll tell you everything." And later, when we were parting, she gave me her hand and said, looking at me candidly, "We shall always be together now, shan't we?" "Oh, Nastenka, Nastenka! If you only knew how lonely I am now. When the dock struck 9, I could bear my room no longer. One dressed and went out in spite of the rain. I went there and sat on our bench. I started down her alleyway, but I felt ashamed and came back without so much as a glance at her windows, turning away before I reached her home. I came back to my room in such despair as I had never known before. What a wet and dreary day. I would have wandered there all night if it hadn't been for the weather. But till tomorrow, tomorrow she'll tell me everything. There was no letter today, but then there shouldn't have been. They are together now. 4th night, oh God, the way it all ended. The end of it all. I came at 9 o'clock. She was already there. I saw her when I was still some distance away. She stood leaning against the 89 railing as on that first night, and she did not hear me approach her. "Nastenka," I called out, fighting down my excitement with an effort. She turned round promptly. "Well," she said, "tell me quickly." I stood looking at her in bewilderment. "Well, where's the letter? Have you brought the letter?" she repeated, clutching at the railing with one hand. "No, I have no letter," I said at last. "Hasn't he been yet?" She turned dreadfully pale and stared at me fixedly for a long time. I had shattered her last hope. "Oh well, let him be," she brought out at last, her voice breaking. "Let him be, if I wants to leave me like this." She lowered her eyes. Then she wanted to look into mine, but could not. She struggled against her emotion a few minutes longer, but suddenly she turned away and, leaning on the railing, sobbed. Come, I began, but I had not the strength to go on as I looked at her. And then, what was there to say? 9 Guatemalan quetzals don't console me, she said through her tears. Don't talk to me about him. Don't tell me he'll come. Don't tell me he has not a ban. Don't me so cruelly, so inhumanly. But why? Why? Surely there was nothing in that letter of mine, that miserable letter, was there? She broke off, choking with sobs. My heart was wrung as I watched her. Oh, how inhumanly cruel! Oh, him! She began again, and not a line, not a single line. At least he could have written that he did not want me any longer, that I was casting me off, but not a line in 3 whole days. How easy he finds it to insult E&D, hurt a poor, defenseless girl, whose only fault is that she loves him. Oh, what I have suffered in those 3 days! Oh my God, oh my God! When I remember that it was I who came to him that first time, that I humbled myself before him, weeping and begging him for love, even if it were only a tiny drop of love. And after all that, listen, she turned to me, and her black eyes flashed. It isn't so. It can't be so. It's absurd. One of us has made a mistake, either you or I. Perhaps he hasn't received my letter yet. Perhaps he, 91, still knows nothing about it. Because how can one? Tell me, for heaven's sake, judge for yourself. Explain it to me, for I cannot understand it. How can one treat anyone so brutally, so harshly as he has treated me? Not a single word, even the most wretched of the wretched, is shown more compassion. Perhaps he's heard something about me. Perhaps someone's carried tales to him about me. She cried, turning to me with her last question. What do you think? Look here, Nastenka. I'll go and speak to him tomorrow on your behalf. And then? I'll ask him about everything. I'll tell him all. And what then? You'll write him a letter. Do not say no, Nastenka. Don't say no. I shall make him respect your gesture. He'll learn everything, and if no, my friend... No, she broke in. Enough. Not a word. Not one word from me, not a line. Enough. I do not know him. I do not love him any more. I shall forget him. She could not go on. Hush now, compose yourself. Come sit 92 down here, Nastenka. I said as I helped Aya to the bench. But I am composed. Don't worry. It's nothing. These are just tears. They'll dry. Did you think I was going to end my life? To drown myself? My heart was in my throat. I wanted to speak, but could not utter a word. Tell me, Slee continued, taking my hand. You would not have done this, would you? You would not have abandoned the one who came to you herself. You would not have flung into her face your brazen contempt for her poor, foolish heart. Wouldn't you have taken care of her? Wouldn't you have realized that she had been alone, that she did not know how it began, that she had not known how to protect herself from her love for you, that she was not to blame, that she was not at fault, that she had done no wrong? Oh God! Oh dear God! Nastenka, I cried, no longer master of my feelings. Nastenka, you are tormenting me. You are breaking my heart. You are killing me, Nastenka. I cannot remain silent. I must speak. I must at last lay bare before you all that is overwhelming my heart. 93. I rose from the bench as I said it. She took my hand and looked at me in wonder. What is it? She spoke at last. Nastenka, I said with resolution. Listen to me, Nastenka. What I am about to tell you is nothing but a foolish, hopeless dream. It's all nonsensical. I know that it can never come true, but I cannot keep silent now. In the name of that which is making you suffer, I entreat you to forgive me beforehand. But what is it? She said, her eyes dry and fastened on mine with a strange light of curiosity and surprise in them. What is it? What is the matter? I know it's hopeless, but I love you, Nastenka. There you are. I've said it all now, I said with a hopeless gesture. After this, it's for you to judge whether you can go on talking to me the way you have done. And, moreover, whether you can listen to what I am about to say to you. But why not? Nastenka interrupted. What of it? Of course I've always known you cared for me, but I kept fancying you just loved me so. Just like that. Oh dear, oh dear. 94 it was like that at first, Nastenka. But now I feel just as you felt when you went to him with your bundle. Worse than you felt, Nastenka, because he loved no other, and you do. What is it you're saying to me? I don't understand you at all. But listen, what is I his for, or rather not what is it for, but why did you, and so suddenly? Heavens! I'm talking nonsense. But you and Nastenka grew utterly confused. Her cheeks flushed crimson, and she modestly averted her gaze. But what can I do, Nastenka? What can I do? I am at fault. I took ill advantage. But no, I'm not, Nastenka. I can I can hear it. For my heart tells me I am right, for I could never hunt you or insult you. I was your friend. Well, I'm still your friend. I have not betrayed a trust. See the tears flowing down my face, Nastenka. Let them flow. Let them. They do no harm. They'll dry, Nastenka. Oh, sit down, do sit down, she said, pulling me down beside her. Oh dear, oh dear. No, Nastenka, I shall not sit down. I cannot remain here any longer. You are not 95 to see me any more. I say everything and go. I only wanted to tell you that you would never have learned of my love. I would have kept my secret. I would never have thought of tormenting you at a moment like this with my selfishness. But it was more than I could bear. You started speaking of it, yourself. It's your fault. You are to blame for everything, and not I. You cannot drive me away from you. But no, I'm not driving you away, no, Nastenka said, doing her best to hide her confusion, the poor dear. You will not drive me away? No? And I was going to flee from you myself. I shall go away. But before I do, I'll tell you everything. Because when you were talking to me just now, I could hardly contain myself, and when you were crying and tormenting yourself with the thought that forgive me mentioning it, Nasenka, were being cast off, that your love was being scorned, I knew there was so much love in my heart for you, Nastenka, so much love, and it grieved me bitterly that I could not help you with this love of mine. It broke my heart, and I could 96, not hold my silence. I had to speak, Nasenka. I had to speak. Yes, go on, speak to me, do speak to me like this, Nastenka said with an unfathomable expression. To you it may seem strange to hear me say this. But speak. I'll tell you afterwards. I'll tell you everything. You are sorry for me, Nastenka. You're just sorry for me, my little friend. Well, what's done is done. You can't unsay what has been said. Isn't it so? You know everything now. So let this be our starting point. Very well, everything is splendid now. But do hear me out. When you were sitting there and crying, I thought to myself, do let me say what it was I thought. I thought that, Weffel, of course it could never be, Nastenka. I thought that somehow you, in quite a detached sort of way, did not love him any more. And then, I was thinking about this last night, and the night before last too, Nastenka. And then I do something. I would certainly do something to make you love me. You did tell me, you told me yourself, Nastenka, that you had most come to love me. Well then, what was 7? 12097, I going to say. Oh well, I think I've said it all. All I could tell you now is what it would have been if ever you loved me. Only this, and nothing more. Listen then, my dear friend, for after all you are my friend. I'm an ordinary man, of course. I'm poor and so insignificant. But that's the point. I seem to be talking out of turn, but it's my shyness, Nastenka. The thing is that I'd love you so. I'd love you so that you would never feel the burden of my love in any way, even if you still cared and went on caring for the other one, whom I do not know. All you would ever be conscious of, all you would ever feel would be a heart beating constantly beside you, a grateful, ardent heart that would belong to you forever. Oh, Nastenka, Nastenka, what have you done to me? Please don't cry. I don't want you to cry, said Nastenka, quickly rising from the bench. Koim, get up. Come with I'm. Don't weep now. Don't weep, she spoke, and wiped my tears with her handkerchief. Welt, come along now. I may have something to tell you. Now that he's abandoned me, now that he's forgotten me, though I love him still, I 98 do not wish to deceive yon, but tell me, answer me. If, for instance, if I came to love you, that is, if only, oh, my friend, when I remember, when I just think of the way I wounded you when I laughed at your love, when I praised you for not having fallen in love with me, why didn't I see it? Why didn't I? How foolish I must have been, but, well, I've decided I'll tell you everything. Wait, Nastenka. I think one should leave you in peace and go. I'm only tormenting you. Your conscience has begun to worry you now because you laughed at me. And I do not wish it. No, I do not wish it. You have your own sorrow to bear. It's my fault, of course, Nastenka. Goodbye. Stop. Listen to me. Could you wait? Wait. What for? I love him, but it will pass. It must pass. It cannot but pass. It's passing now. I can feel it. Who knows? Perhaps it will be over this very night because I hate him, because he treated me with scorn, whereas you wept with me. You love me, and that is why you have not cast me off as he has done. He has never loved me, and then because I love you 7 times 99 too. Yes, I do. I love you as you love me. I told you so before, you know I did. I love you because you are better than he is. B calls you. Are more honorable because B calls poor Nastenka. She was so overwhelmed, she could not go on. She leaned her head against my shoulder, then dropped it on my breast and shed bitter tears. I tried to fought her, to soothe her, but she could not check her tears. Ish kept pressing my hand and repeating through her sobs, one moment. I'll stop now. I want to tell you, do not think these terrors mean anything. I'm just crying from weakness. It'll go over in a moment. At last her sobbing ceased. She dried her tears and we walked on. I was about to speak, but she begged me to wait. We both lapsed into silence. At last she collected herself and began, now then, please do not think that I am so inconstant and flighty in my affections, she said in a weak and shaky key voice, but with a sudden ring of something that plunged straight into my heart and throbbed there with a delicious ache. Please do not think, 100, that I am Cap, Abel Oif, forgetting so easily and quickly, or of betraying I loved him for a whole year, and I swear to God that never, never even in my thoughts, have I been true to him. He scorned this, he mocked me. Let him be, but he has wounded me, he has insulted my love. I do not love him, for I can only love someone who is generous, understanding, and honorable, for this is what I'm like myself, and he is unworthy of me. Well, let him be. He acted well. It would have been much worse if I were to be disappointed in him afterwards, when I had got to know him for what he was. It is all over now. But who knows, my kind Mend, she went on, closing her fingers around Peen. Who knows? Perhaps this very love of mine was a mirage, a play of my imagination. Perhaps it all began with naughtiness and trifles, because I was never allowed out of Grandmaoma's eyesight. Perhaps it is not him that I should love. Perhaps another, a different man, one who would pity me and no, let's leave it. Let's leave it. Nastenka cut herself short abruptly, breathless with excitement. I only wanted to say, I wanted to tell you that if, in spite of my tot loving him, no, my having loved him, if, in spite of this, you say once more, if you feel that your love is so great it can really drive the other from my heart, if you want to take pity on me, if you do not wish to abandon me to my fate, alone, disconsolate, deprived of hope, if you want to love me forever the way you are of me now, I swear that my gratitude, that my love will be worthy of yours. Will you take my hand after this? Nastenka, I shouted, while sobs choked me. Nastenka, oh Nastenka, enough, enough, it's quite enough. She spoke with an effort. Everything has been said now, hasn't it? You are happy now, and so am I. Not another word about it, not just, yet, have mercy on me. Do talk of something else, for heaven's sake. Yes, Nastenka, of course. Enough of this. I'm happy now, yes, let us talk of something else, Nastenka. Let us find another subject quickly, yes. I'm ready. We couldn't find anything to talk about. We laughed, we cried, we said 1,000 senseless, disconnected words. We walked him up and down the embankment, or we suddenly retraced our steps and started across the road. We stopped and crossed back to the railing again. We were like two children. I live all by myself now, but tomorrow, I began, you know I'm poor, of course. Nastenka, all I have is 1,200 a year, but that doesn't matter, of course it doesn't. And then Grandmama receives her pension. She won't be a burden to us. We must take Grandmama. We must plus ache Grandmama, of course. But then there's Matriona. Oh yes, we've got our Fyokla too. Matriona is a good soul. Her only fault is she has no imagination. No imagination whatsoever, Nastenka. But that doesn't matter. Never mind, they can both stay together. But you must move over to our house tomorrow. Rao. What do you mean? To your house. Very well, I'm willing. Yes, you'll lodge with us. We've got an attic. It's vacant now. We had an old lady, a gentlewoman, staying with us, but now she's moved, and Grandmama, I know, wants to let it to a young man. I said, why a young man? And she said, simply because I'm getting on, but don't you imagine I'm trying to make a match for you, Nastenka? And so I knew at once that that was why. Ah, Nastenka. And we both began to laugh. Stop now, stop. And where do you live? I forgot to ask you. Over there, near the bridge, in Baron Nikov's house. It's a great big house, isn't it? Yes, it's a great big house. Oh, I know, it's a fine house. But do leave it, and move over to our place as soon as you can. As soon as it's morning, Nastenka. As soon as it's tomorrow. I owe a bit of rent, but it doesn't matter. My salary is due shortly. You know, I might give lessons. That is, I'll study first, and then I'll give lessons. Why, that's splendid. And I'll be getting my gratuity soon, Nastenka. So you will be my lodger tomorrow. Yes. And we'll go to the barber of Seville, because it'll soon be on again. Be on again. Yes, let's, Nastenka said, smiling. But no, I'd rather we went to something else, and not the barber. Very well, let it be something else. That would be better, of course. I'm sorry it never occurred to me. Talking in this strain, we wandered up and down as though we were intoxicated, in a daze it seemed, not knowing what was happening to us. We'd come to a spot and pause there, talking for a long time, or we'd start off walking again and go heaven knows where. We'd laugh again. We'd weep again. Or Nastenka would suddenly want to go home. I dared not keep her, but I would want to take her to her very doorstep. Off we nine go, and then to our surprise, a quarter of an hour later, we'd find ourselves on the embankment again, sitting on our bench. Or suddenly she'd sigh, and teardrops would glisten in her eyes again, and I'd lose heart, my blood would freeze. But the next moment she was squeezing my hand, pulling me along with her, to walk again, to chat and talk. It's time now. It's really time I went home. It must be very late, Nastenka said at last. We've been behaving like children long enough. True, Nastenka, but I'll never fall asleep now. I shan't go home at all. I don't think I'll be able to sleep either, but do take me home, of course. But this time we really must go home. Of course we will. Promise. Because, after all, I must return home some time, you know. I promise, I replied, laughing. Well, come along. Let us go. Look at the sky, Nastenka. Look. It will be a wonderful day tomorrow. Look at the moon. Look how blue the sky is. Look. That yellow cloud over there is creeping over the moon. Look, look! But no, it has moved on. Look now, look. But Nastenka was not looking at the cloud. She stood, rooted to the spot, and said nothing, and then I felt her pressing close-lie and timidly against me. I felt her hand tremble in mine. I looked at her. She leaned harder on my arm. 106, a young man walked past us. He stopped abruptly, peered dose at Ennis, and walked on. My heart sank. Nastenka, I said softly. Who is it, Nastenka? It's he, she whispered, clinging ever closer to me, ever more tremulously. My knees all but gave way. Nastenka, Nastenka, it's you, a voice cried, and in a minute the young man was close to us. Good God, the cry, the start she gave, the way she broke away from my arms and flew towards him. I stood and watched them, utterly crushed, but she had barely given him her hand, had barely flung herself into his arms, when suddenly she turned to me. She was beside me again, as swift as lightning, as the wind, and before I could gather my wits together, she had thrown her arms round my neck and kissed me hard and warmly. Then, without a word to me, she rushed to him again, took his hands in hers and drew him away with her. I stood for a long time, looking after them. At last they both disappeared from view. Morning marked the end of my nights. It was a miserable day. Rain was tailing, tapping sadly on my window. My little room was dark, the sky waste overcast. My head ached and reeled. Fever was creeping up my limbs. Here's a letter for you, sir. The postman's brought it. Come through the post it has, Matryona said, standing over me. A letter? Who from? I cried, jumping up from my chair. That I wouldn't know, sir. Look and see. Perhaps it says who it's from. I broke the seal. It was from her. Oh, forgive me, Nastenka wrote. I beg you on my bended knees to forgive me. I have deceived both myself and you. It was a dream, a phantom. My heart was wrung with thoughts of you today. Forgive me. Forgive, do not judge me severely, for I have not changed towards you at all. I told you one would love you, and I do love you. I more than love you. Oh God, if I could only love the two of you at once, if only you were he. Only he were you, flashed through my mind. I remembered your own words, Nastenka. What wouldn't I do for you now? God knows it's true. I know you're sad and hurt. I have done you an injury. Hut, you know one soon forgives a grievance if one loves, and you do love me. I thank you. I thank you for this love, for it is imprinted in my memory like a sweet dream which stays with you long after your awakening. For I shall always remember the moment when you, with such brotherly candor, opened your heart to me, and so generously accepted the gift of my own broken heart, to care for it, to cherish it, and nurse it back to life. If you forgive me, My memory of you will be hallowed by my eternal gratitude to you, a feeling which will never be obliterated from my heart. I shall safeguard this memory. I shall remain true to it. I shall not betray it. I shall not be false to my heart. It is too constant. Only last night, how quickly it flew back to the one it belonged to forever. We shall meet. You will come to see us. You will not forsake. You will be my 109 friend, my brother always. And when you see me, you will give me your hand, won't you? You will give me your hand. You have forgiven me, haven't you? You do love me as before. Oh, do love me. Do not forsake me. For I love you so at this moment, for I am worthy of your love. I want to be worthy of your love. My dear, dear friend. I am to marry him next week. He came back in love with me. He had never forgotten me. It will not anger you that I am writing about him. But I want to come to you with him. You will not refuse him your affection, will you? Forgive, remember, and love your Niastenka. I feed this letter over and over again. I wanted to weep. The letter slipped from my fingers at last, and I buried my face in my hands. Dearie, I say, dearie, Matryona spoke. What is it? Look, I've swept all the cobwebs away. It's fit for a wedding feast or a party. If you've a mind for one, it's that Dean. I looked at Matryona. She was still a hale and hearty young old woman, but all of a sudden. I don't know why. I fancied she was stooping and senile. Her eyes were lusterless, and wrinkles creased her face. I don't know why, but suddenly it seemed to me that my room, too, had grown old like Matryona. The ceiling and the walls were tarnished, everything had become dingy, and the cobwebs hung thicker than ever. One don't know why, but when I looked out of the window, I fancied that the house opposite had grown decrepit and dingy as well. That plaster had chipped from the pillars. The cornices were black and cracked, and the bright yellow walls were piebald now. Perhaps it was because the ray of sunshine, peeping out so unexpectedly, had hidden behind the rain cloud again, that everything seemed to grow dingy before my eyes once more. Or perhaps it was because the vista of all my life to come stretched before me so bleakly and so sadly, and I saw myself the way I am now, exactly 15 years hence, an aged man, in the same old room, as lonely as ever, with the same old Matryona, who had not grown any brighter with the years. But that I should brood over my wrongs. Nastenka, never. That I should ever mar 111 your pure and blissful happiness with a cloud of sorrow. That I should ever bring despair into your heart with a bitter reproach, or wound it with secret pangs of conscience, and make it beat with sadness in a moment of rapture. That I should ever crush a single one of those exquisite flowers you wove into your dark curls when you walked up to the altar with him. Oh, never, never. Let your skies be clear forever. Let your sweet smile be ever bright and untroubled. May you forever be blessed for that one moment of bliss and happiness you granted another, a lonely and grateful heart. Good Lord. A whole minute of bliss. Why, isn't it enough, even for a lifetime? That's it, guys. I hope you people enjoyed The White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. For more such interesting audiobooks, do consider subscribing our channel Read Your Shelf. Thanks for watching.